What's up, everybody? How you doing? This is your boy, Deacon D. Django, and we are back again with another episode of The Devil's Advocate. And I want to thank everybody for joining us in on this Friday. How's everybody doing? We are doing just fine. And it is a very brisk summer. I saw that. Black Beauty. See, now you got me all acting a fool this morning already.
I haven't even done anything.
Already you got me acting a fool.
What did I do?
Being messy.
I haven't done anything.
Okay,
I am
we're gonna have to have
changing
a
my
What's up,
life.
Antonio? What's up, LaShonda? We're gonna have a conversation with your husband. Okay. Is he drunk again this morning? Did he call you?
I'm not sure. You have to check with him. You know, I don't think he would be drinking and driving.
I hope he wouldn't be drinking and driving. Maybe doing the load. He just got to get him a little martini or something. So I want to thank everybody for joining us in today. We had us a great show last night and last Friday. So you, Miss Black Beauty, get to sit around and be part of our shenanigans for Friday. For those of you guys who don't know, I've been trying to get on as a co-host, but you know she has a thing that most of us lack, or some of us like, called a job. Everybody want to call me Tommy and stuff. No, I have a job. I have a very illustrious job.
Are you sure?
Yeah, on Friday. I just get to keep my Fridays off because of the show. And I want to thank everybody for joining us in. We're going to have a very interesting conversation. You know, of course, because Head Sanford has been in North Carolina, and he hasn't had a chance to get this microphone to sit still while I'm talking. Like folks' equipment.
Hey, we're not gonna do that.
I'm not gonna
Don't blame it on black people.
We can invest in some WD-40.
If the equipment is faulty, it's probably the
thing
warranty
won't,
on
it just won't, you know. And I don't like things of this nature moving across my mouth like that. But anyway,
I don't know how I feel about that.
It's a phallic object. It doesn't need to move across my mouth like this. Okay, but anywho,
Jen Fields is already Jen.
Jen talking about that. You know, I ain't wear that, man.
Jen,
Of course,
I
yes, she
agree
did.
with you.
Yes, she did.
I agree with you 150%.
But she fine though.
So because she's fine, you can.
No, I didn't say that.
I mean, so let me know if being fine gets you.
You know what? I didn't get judges. I'm feeling a lot of heat over here from this seat over here. I'm telling you, there's a lot of heat coming over in this seat over here. All right, but that's okay.
What is the heat from the seat?
I'm just saying, y'all be able to, okay, I'm gonna bring you on.
I mean, my thing is, you know, I say what I mean, and I mean
what I say. Yeah, you mean what I say, and I mean what I say when I say she fine.
So when you're fine, you get to.
What's up, Big Meech?
You get to act a fool, or you get to do what you want to do.
Well, I mean, you may act a fool a little bit, but you know, it just depends.
So if I go to the gym and I get me a Nicole Murphy body, well, you know, sometimes that's paid for.
Lord,
I can do what I want to do.
Miss Parker. Anyway. Okay, we got to get into our topic today because this is going to be an interesting one. And, you know, the reason why I say it's going to be an interesting one because, like, you know, last week, I ranted and raved on the raccoons before I got out of Facebook jail.
Goodness.
Now I'm out of Facebook jail. What's up, Nikki G?
This is why you remain in Facebook jail.
Well, that's right. I'm getting ready to go back.
No, don't.
I ain't going back.
I mean, I think that you have to choose your words wisely because you can get your point across without going to Facebook jail. Dave, do you ever go to Facebook jail?
Oh, there you go. The angry black man.
Never.
Never. You never go to Facebook jail.
And you never go to Facebook jail because you say it in such a way that it prevents you from going.
Yeah, and I raise plenty of hell if you follow me on the post.
I do.
I do follow you.
Okay.
So what you trying to say?
I'm just saying maybe it's the neighborhood you grew up in.
So you from the hood? Is that what's going on, Django? And that's why you can't.
Okay, there we go.
So the Sanjay is having technical difficulties. Django is having technical difficulties.
He said don't touch it. Okay.
And Dave is fixing it for him. So, like I said, it's not.
How y'all doing? I'm waving at everybody.
It's not black folks' equipment. It was the.
Oh, Django. Oh, okay. So technical difficulty.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's have a serious conversation today. But first, before we get started, let me go ahead and introduce my co-host. If I could get her to come on full time, that would be just so lovely. It'd be so lovely. And that's Miss Black Beauty, Miss Nakia. How you doing?
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing today?
Yeah, you know what? Did we run the people off last night? Because I told them we were gonna be raw.
I think we did run them off, but I think it's only so much you can talk about. I mean, it's self-explanatory. Nicole Murphy knew that man was married. He knows that he's married. You have a choice in what you do. God gives you choices. He gives you your free will.
Dude, God give her that body though. That's what I want.
I mean,
kind of fun.
I'm
right
just
there.
saying.
Okay.
You're of free will, so you have a choice in what you're going to do or what you're willing to do. And then if her and Leela Rashawn were friends and she still chose to mess with her husband and her excuse is, oh, I thought you guys were divorced. That's still not really
what
good.
It was?
Yeah, that's what I read, that she felt like they were divorced. I don't think that that's a really good reason, simply because
you can check and see if somebody's divorced. Usually that's
you can check and see if someone's divorced, but if you're my friend, that would be like, say you and Saversa breaking up, and then I try to talk to you or something.
Okay, Gabby.
That's not my style. I'm not going to do that because I know how she feels
she's a
about
family
you.
friend. He should have been off limits anyway.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to get to. You have to choose wisely, and I think that
smiling faces.
the seeds that you sow, they do come back to you.
Yeah,
I think that your harvest may not be a good harvest. Everything has a season and a reason. So
smiling faces.
Exactly.
Smiling faces. Okay. Anyway.
So
I did a little blues right
yeah,
there.
You had
Django could hit a little
little
tone.
R&B for us.
Yeah,
a little soul.
Okay. And of course our elder statesman on the wheels of steel over here. He's actually trying to grow his hair. I'm the only gentleman on the show that actually has hair.
I have hair. What is this?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't say facial hair. I said hair.
Hair is hair.
Okay.
Yeah,
hair
but
is
you know
hair.
what? I have a thing. I think all men should have facial hair.
Right.
I think they should, and people don't understand that when I say that. I'm like, it's just weird to me when men don't have facial hair.
You say it's sexy for sisters to have man have. Well,
Well,
the beard thing.
I've
is the
always
thing,
thought that since I was a little kid. I associate facial hair with grown men, so it's weird to me when men don't have facial
when men
hair.
are a baby face. Oh, TJ, the man I want to see. I'm glad you watching there, bro. Let's go ahead and have a conversation today.
Okay, let's have a conversation.
Because I was wondering if he called the show the other day because somebody mentioned him by name, that TJ, and I was wondering if it was him, but we're going to find out. Today's topic. Now, Dave, you said we weren't going to get you mad, but I'm sure I'm about to make you mad today. You can guarantee that.
Dave, don't allow
Now,
him
you're
to
going to get
use
mad
your-
today, bro. You're going to just prepare yourself.
Okay.
Today's topic is going to be, why are black people abandoning progressivism? Dum da dum dum. Why are black people abandoning progressivism or liberalism or whatever it is people want to call it? What's going on with that? What is this new movement now? Well, first of all, let's try to figure out why this movement is. We're abandoning the Democrat Party, and we're abandoning this argument that if you're in the Democrat Party, it's liberal, because all Democrats are not liberal. So let's get that out the way first of all. Because a considerable number of Democrats who were Obama voters voted for Trump. Okay? So let's try to figure out why black people now are arguing this notion of abandoning individualism. I'm sorry, progressivism. So what I want to ask you is, when we talk about black people within the last 50 years, let's just go from our experience, because both of us are within the 50-year range. What's up, D? How you doing, love? Who says an echo?
I'm still.
Can you turn your phone down just
I'm
a little bit?
still in my early 40s.
Well, you're in your 40s, but we're
I
both
haven't
babies born after.
I
think the only person that was born right at the cusp of the civil rights era was Dave. I'm not trying to tell on your age, Dave, but I mean,
I'm 58 and proud of it.
okay,
That's
well,
right. That's right, Dave.
well,
Be proud of
And
it.
some of y'all better hope you can get to this point.
Exactly.
Anything else? Thank you.
Dave, okay. Well, see, I'm getting
Dave-
ready to get him started. See how you acting already?
Dave comes with
Well, Dave
it. I
gonna
love
come raw
that.
with it.
I
Okay.
love that.
So from our experience, we were at the end. We were at the end of the civil rights era. I wasn't born during the civil rights era, even though there's still civil rights fights still going on for black people. So my question becomes, is why is it all of a sudden now, and especially after the election and the administration of President Obama, why are black people now coming out calling themselves conservatives? Let's talk
I think
about that.
because black people get comfortable where they are at. and a lot of black people have lost the will to fight. Like our parents and the people before our parents, the generation before our parents, they were fighters, and we really don't see that anymore. You don't see.
So we think we done integrated.
Yes, you don't see
Really?
a whole bunch of. To me, you don't see a whole bunch of activists. You know, people that's willing to die for the cause or anything like that. You know, in the 50s and the 60s, you had people that were willing to die for the cause. And now, because people are so comfortable where they're at, you know.
Chenal Valley, driving Mercedes-Benz.
I don't even think that it has anything to do with Chenal Valley or driving a Mercedes-Benz. I think it has to do with the mental mindset. A lot of times, black people feel that they have made it because they may make a certain amount of money.
Yeah, all that. The boom in the 80s. I mean, all of that is indicative.
And then, in addition
we moved on up like
right.
George and Wheezy.
And then, in addition to that, a lot of times people don't want to cause a stir. They don't want to cause.
They don't want to shake the leaves.
Yes, yes. If it's not, if there's not anything going on or it's not affecting me in a adverse way,
right.
Why am I gonna stir it up? If it's not broke, if it ain't broke, why fix it?
Oh,
so that's
the raccoon mindset.
So that's what's going on with a lot of people, and then you have to ask yourself, are they wrong for feeling like that?
Well, let's make the argument: are we in a truly colorblind society? Are we?
No, not at all.
Then guess what? The struggle still continues.
Of course,
and
the struggle
and let's
still
just
continues.
be real. You know, first of all, I can't stand stupid people. Okay, let's get that established first of all. So when I hear people sit around here and talk about Obama divided the country, da 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 da,
the country was
already divided.
The country has always been
right.
divided.
The only thing with the colonizer folk, what they mad about, the only reason they're mad is because when Obama came along, white people had to kind of sit back a little bit with their racism. They had to kind of go under the covers with it.
No, I don't think when people were already hiding their racism.
Right.
And I think now that 45 is in office, people feel
free.
told
people if you want to say it, say it.
Yeah, they feel free to say the things that at one point they weren't willing to say. So that's where the difference comes in. But the thing is, all of this goes all the way back to me, to integration. When we began to integrate, that's when people started feeling like they had made it, and that
right.
was all that it took. But the thing is, you have to be willing to continue to work. It's work that needs to be done, and people aren't gonna always accept you, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
Don't be fooled by the myth that I'm accepted now. No. Everybody doesn't
I think we were too busy fighting for integration, but we didn't try to work for equality. That was the problem. We tried to integrate in as a second-class citizen. That's the way we've always been looked at by certain groups of people in this country. We're always going to be second-class.
So do you think there'll ever be equality?
Yes, eventually. I mean, we're probably about a good. I'm not going to lie. We're probably at least 50 years from it. And the reason how we're going to be equality is when we turn brown, we become a majority brown country. When people realize, it's just like Chris Rock said. Whoever you racist against is going to end up in your family.
Okay. You said when we become a what?
Majority brown country.
That's not going to happen. And the reason why it's not going to happen?
Why?
Is because the birth rate is going down. Mm-hmm. They're changing the laws to about abortions and things like that.
Oh, abortion. Let's talk about that quick. Because I'm going to get Dave into this. Because I'm going to... But for all the coons... I'm sorry. I'm not going to
See, that's why you be in Facebook jail.
Ma'am. Okay. For all the raccoons and these black evangelicals, I want you to listen to me. I don't understand why we're having issues talking about abortion and immigration. First of all, okay, if black people are going to argue about immigration, first of all, they're bringing illegal immigrants in, they're taking our jobs. First of all, most black people are not working in no fields picking produce for 16 hours a day.
First of all, we're on stolen land anyway.
Well, if black folks want to come and pick fruit in the field, in a hot field in 100 degrees, I can take you out to East Arkansas, and you want to go out there and pick fruit with migrant jobs, you want to do that for $7 an hour.
OSHA says that the temperature in July. Stop playing.
Okay, but I'm just saying, black people act like those are the jobs to take it. Black folks ain't. Let me tell you something. I don't get up out of bed for less than $40 an hour.
So you're
don't
saying
wake me up.
You're saying black folks.
Black
so
folks.
You think that that majority of black people have a problem with the illegal aliens or with people that's coming to the country? You think that black people have a problem with that?
First
Do
of all,
you
it
have a
shouldn't
problem
even
with
be,
that?
well, let me tell you something. Truthfully, it shouldn't even be black people's fight. We were brought here illegally.
Right.
Okay, so it
Right.
shouldn't even be our fight because we see. Let me tell you something. And abortion, it's the same thing with abortion. Reason why I say that, first of all, abortion is not the law of the land. It's not. We don't live in China. Okay, in China, you are forcibly sterilized. So if you get your wife pregnant, they can abort that baby.
Right.
Okay, because China, I believe, has the 2-child rule. I don't know how the hell you're gonna have 2.1 children. I don't know how that works. 2.1 children. Okay, so in
You're
China,
like 6 weeks pregnant or
Rhonda,
something.
that's trouble. So my thing is, it's not like China. In China, their government allows their government to sterilize or abort people's children once they have so many children because there's over 1 billion people. They're overpopulated. So my
So
thing
they're
about
1/7. China is 1/7 of the world.
right,
because
it's
there's
1/7 of the
what,
world's
like
population is
7 point-
crammed into China.
Yeah.
And that's not even talking about Western China where there's nothing out there, where there's nothing but mountains. We're talking about Eastern and Central China.
Oh, they probably don't have it.
So they're so population dense, it's ridiculous. But see, this is the point I'm trying to make to you, is that the abortion issue is not a black people issue, but black people are banging it because they're talking about Margaret Sanger and how she brought it into the black neighborhood. First of all, black people, there's no law of the land saying that you have to have an abortion. Keep your damn legs closed. Okay, keep your legs closed if you're gonna worry about unwanted pregnancies. If you're gonna take proper precautions, it's not because the point is these arguments that black people are adopting, these conservative arguments. Hey Paris, these conservative arguments that black people are begging for, well, killing black babies. First of all, nobody forces you to have sex, and nobody forces you to go have an abortion. That's your choice to have it.
Okay, so is it anybody's business if you choose to have an abortion?
No, it's nobody's
Okay.
business except you and the dad.
Right.
And that
right,
unfortunate
right.
child. Now, I'm probably against late-term abortions because the child is fully formed. So
Right.
those are violent, procedures.
So you are pro-choice.
Yes, I'm very pro-choice.
Okay.
I'm like, look, I've told people this all the time. As long as you can reconcile it with your creator and you don't hurt anybody else, you can be free to do it. Now, again, I'm against late-term abortion because they have to actually mangle the child's body, and obviously that child is fully formed. You understand what I'm saying? But as soon as you find out you're pregnant, you and baby daddy, what's up, Ephraim? You should have been here today, bro. You should be finding a way to figure out, hey, what is we gonna do? That's what you
Okay.
should have that conversation.
So you think that the arguments regarding abortion, regarding immigration.
First of all, abortion don't apply to us. This for the. Do you reason why they're reversing abortion laws? Because they're trying to repopulate
that's
white
why-
people. They're
and
not
that's
trying to
why-
repopulate.
And that's why I said that
Right.
is that the country is never going to be majority brown because they're forcing it to where people are going to have their kids. So
They can't stop it.
They
you
can't
don't
stop it.
you don't think they can
have
stop it?
White people are not having children like they did anyway.
In 14 states, white people are dying faster than children are being born.
Right.
3 of the states,
Are they Trump supporters?
in 3 states,
Okay.
white people have already become minorities in 3 states in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Francis Cress Welsing talked about this in 1974, is that it's called genetics.
Genetics.
Okay.
Black is dominant, white is recessive. That has nothing to do with race. It's simply genetics. And what you're seeing is the evolution of genetics. There's nothing they can do to stop it. 3/4 of the world are people of color. 1/4 are white people.
Well-
They can't stop it.
Okay, so with 3/4 of the world being people of color, it doesn't matter if the people of color don't come together on what.
Well, that's another thing. See, this is why I'm in Facebook jail, because of the raccoons. We
Isn't that
got black people who argue against their own self-preservation to
Right.
argue an ideology. Okay, so my problem is, again, we're talking about abortion. Like I said, they've gotten us to adopt their argument. And I'm not saying that you can't have your moral reservations about abortion. Okay, but understand this. When you see white people cheer when white cops kill unarmed black people in
But-
their hold on, when you see them do that,
Right.
where did comes the sanctity of life for black people when you're worried about a black baby, but then when a white cop takes a black life, then you're cheerleading it and twisting
part of
yourself and not
that-
trying to justify it.
But part of that is because some people remove themselves from the situation, or they feel like, oh, they're different from me because I'm this type of person and they're that type of person. I've had conversation with people, and they make comments like, well, you know, she was from such and such, such and such, so you expect that, or, you know, but we're all black. I've even heard Hispanic people say that. Well, they're not the type of Hispanic person I am. You know, they're from Mexico, and I'm from South America.
Yes.
So people start separating themselves from different things, and because they start separating themselves, they start feeling like they're in the upper echelon, or that they're elite.
You have hierarchies. Right. Like, you know, you have certain Spanish and Latino cultures that consider Mexicans like, quote unquote, the cockroaches of the Hispanic community.
And you even have
blacks
colorism.
that consider like Haitians like you know, and it's sad. It's sad. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe, hey, Mike, what's up, baby boy? Maybe that's where the real problem is.
That creates a lot of issues, because in your mind, once you start saying, I'm better than this person, or I'm different than this person, or it doesn't affect me because of this, and this, you in denial. Because the same thing that can happen to you, me, it can happen to them.
Right.
When you get stopped by the police,
right,
they don't care that you're driving this BMW or this Mercedes or this Audi or this Range Rover. They're just caring that you're a black person.
Right.
And that's, you know, that's my logic that I come to, and that's what I try to tell people. It doesn't matter who you are. Wasn't that Dr. Dre that they came into his yard, or you know, they didn't care who he was, and he was treated badly?
Wow.
Wasn't it? I think that was Dr. Dre.
Did that happen? Dave, are you familiar with that one?
It may not have been Dr. Dre, but it was like a famous rapper, like a millionaire. Yes, in California, and you know, it's like, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? People don't care who you are. So my thing is, when people get beside themselves, or they start acting brand new, they're the first ones to get hit the hardest, you know, because they didn't think it could happen to them. It's kind of like on the Boondocks. Y'all remember the lawyer that was on the Boondocks that was married to the white lady with the biracial kid? Right. He never thought things would happen he never thought different things would happen to him, because he was an attorney and he was married to this white woman, and he was assimilating to the white culture, and he felt like different things would happen to him. And there's always something on the episodes where he would get brought back down to reality, even though he didn't realize even though he wasn't realizing that that's what was going on. So those different things, you know, when it goes down, we're all going to be affected, whether people believe it or not.
Right.
Everybody
Let me ask Dave on this. Dave, what is your take on this, on what we're talking about?
Well, first of all, I call it worshiping the gods of a beaten enemy. It's analogous to the children of Israel when they escaped from Pharaoh. The first thing they did when they got out into the wilderness is go back and worship the same God that had oppressed them.
Right.
Similarly, that's what we're doing. Unfortunately, what the God of America is money.
Right.
Right.
So what are black people doing? They're worshiping the almighty dollar as opposed to morality. I can remember growing up that we didn't have to even ask the question when weird things happened on the news, because you knew it was white people who did strange things. Right. Because black people just didn't do certain things.
It's not like that now.
It's certainly not like that now.
No. Black people
and
just being ignorant.
So that's part of the problem. As far as conservatism is concerned, black people have always been conservative. They've been the most conservative people in this country. And you go back and look at history, and that's thus that analogy that I just gave you.
Right.
It wasn't until they began to worship their God that they began to stray from the conservatism and morality that we had. And until we get back to that, that's going to continue to be a problem. But more importantly, I think people have got to understand here why all of this is happening is, you know, I was reading a piece yesterday about about African history, and I know what it was. It was people are upset because a British woman is playing the role of Harriet Tubman in an upcoming movie. And I delineated on the show yesterday the same atrocities that we faced in America.
Right.
Every black person in the world faced that atrocity.
Right.
So for us to say someone is not black enough or didn't go through the same thing that we went through is really a lack of education. And that's why I did what I did yesterday. And even more so, I'm going to talk a little bit today about on the show where a black guy was arrested in church because he was just walking to church. That didn't happen in America. That happened in Great Britain. Okay? So what we have to understand as black people and all of this, and then, of course, I talked about a piece yesterday that was on CNN. The piece was that the question was asked, why do most of the Egyptian artifacts that are faces, why are their noses removed?
Because they had wide bulbous noses.
Yeah, that's right. They had the wide nose of the
I know, but
Yeah.
again, the professor that was in the piece suggested
Okay.
that it was done to deny people their rightful place in not in history but in the netherworld.
Right. Okay.
So if you break their nose,
Right. If you
then they can't breathe,
Right.
and then they won't ascend to wherever they're going.
Wow.
But again, that's called white supremacy.
Right.
Okay.
Come on, Mike.
And if you don't know the history, if you've never done the history, if you've never read the history, then you'll believe that mess.
Right.
And what has happened to a lot of black people is that we don't know our own damn history.
No, we don't know our own
Okay. And because of that, it affects us individually, it affects our children, and it affects our history as we move forward in this world. And that's the sad thing about it. And that's why I go out of my way every day on Black Focus to talk about issues that nobody wants to talk about, because if we're going to change this, white supremacy has affected, let me take that back, white supremacy has infected the entire world. The entire world. There is not a black person that lives on this planet that has not been affected by white supremacy. Go to Nigeria and watch them worshiping a white Jesus. Okay. Go to the Aborigines and watch them worship.
Nigeria is terrible.
It's unbelievable. And if we're going to solve this problem, as Dr. Welsing talks about, we have to have a mindectomy. Ectomy is Latin for removal.
Yeah.
Right.
We have to remove the mind that was put in us by slavery and reestablish a different mindset.
Right.
We talked about that last night.
You know,
We
therein
talked
is the
about
problem
that.
here.
Right. There's
Is
the
because so many people don't, I'm independent. I'm an individual.
Right.
But you're not individual when you're being led around by your nose and you don't even know it.
Right.
You're a damn fool.
Right.
No
Right.
offense.
Right.
But you are.
Right.
And in this day and time when there's so much information, when I started, and I'm going to talk about my book list today, when I started trying to find out who I was and where we came from, I had to go to the library. I spent over $10,000 on books.
Hey, Georgia.
Okay. Today, all you got to do is Google it.
Google it.
And we're so lazy. That old saying, the best way to hide something from black people was to put it in a book.
Right.
Now we've got Google, and it only takes 5 seconds.
Right.
In fact, you don't even have to type it. You can hit the microphone on your phone and ask the question.
Sure.
Right.
We won't even do that.
Nope.
So, Dave,
You see.
do you think it's that people don't know where to begin or where to start? Because I've had people say, well, where did you get this information from? Or how did you know to look for this information? Or some stuff I learned from my parents, some stuff I've seen on the internet, some stuff my brother-in-law has told me. So I think a lot of times people just don't know where to begin.
But that's a good point. But I think you have to begin somewhere.
So
Okay.
if you met a person, and I know you meet people every day that's fresh in their knowledge, they're babes in their knowledge. What is a book, or where would you tell them to begin?
The Miseducation of the Negro by Dr. Carter G. Woodson.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I would recommend 2 books. The Miseducation of the Negro by Dr. Carter G. Woodson, and then They Came Before Columbus by Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. Okay? Both of those books are easy to read. It's not a lot of jargon that you have to try to understand.
Right.
Those are the main 2 books, because Dr. Van Sertima, you say we were brought here. But actually, there's more and more evidence now coming out that we were already
yeah,
here.
some of us were
Okay, and if you understand geography and early geography, you have to understand that there were only 4 continents.
Because everything was connected.
Exactly.
Right, everything
And
was
okay.
Right.
Split apart.
And we know for a fact that everything began in Africa.
And spread out.
Okay.
Right.
And then when so just imagine the continents are joined together. You have the breaking up of the continents. Those people that were still on the American continent were still our color.
Right.
Now, if you doubt that, go back and look at some early pictures of Cherokees. And I would argue, looking at you, that you probably got some Cherokee in your blood. You know.
I was actually told it was.
What's up, Gabriel?
Well, I want to say Chicopee, but that's probably not it or something like that.
But my point being is that we've always been here.
Right.
And I always tell people, what do you if I have an army of 1,000 people and you have an army of 10,000 people, and we go into battle,
right?
How am I going to beat you with 1,000 people?
And you got 11,000, right?
Okay, I have to beat you psychologically,
right?
And that's what they did to us. And no offense to people who are very religious, but religion, Christianity, and Islam,
to a degree,
was essential.
Right.
In doing that. One other point about Islam, and no offense to my Islamic brothers, but all of it came from the Egyptian mystery system.
Mm-hmm.
All of it came from the Egyptian mystery system, okay? And what people don't realize is that every country in Africa today is Muslim except 2.
Yep.
What are they?
Ethiopia and Nigeria.
Ethiopia and Mali.
Oh, Mali. Okay.
Right. They have remained Christian. And the reason that happened is because those people decided that when Muhammad swept through Africa,
right.
Muhammad, whom Islamists say that he was a prophet,
right.
I hate to say this, he was also a murderer. Because those who didn't convert to Islam, they either converted or they died, or they would cut your tongue out. All right? So the Ethiopians decided that they would worship Islam during the day and continue to pray to Christianity at night.
Yep.
Okay? Now, I said a lot, but again, I went and researched all that. Right. I didn't let anyone tell me, and the reason I did it is because I was torn between, do I want to be Christian? Do I want to be Muslim? Mm-hmm. And before I made that commitment, I decided to find out for myself.
Right.
And my conclusion was, I'm neither.
You're neither.
And I don't want to be either.
Ah.
Okay.
That's just based on my research. If I'm going to worship something, I want to worship the closest thing that I can to what is truth.
Right.
What we're doing today
is not the truth.
Is not truth, my brothers and sisters. Now, you can get upset. I know there are a lot of Christians listening. I know there are some. I know there's
talking of the devil.
I know there are some exactly there. But again, what did they tell you? Look, my mother is a devout Christian. She's 94 years old. She thinks I'm crazy. She tells me all the time that something has happened.
Baby, I'm gonna pray for you.
That kind of stuff. But again, if we are really seeking truth,
right?
I ask Christians all the time, how can you, if you want to understand truth, how is it that you don't want to understand the people by which that Bible was written about? Think about it. Because if you really understood the Bible, then you'd realize long before now that every one of them was everybody in that Bible was black, especially in the Old Testament.
Right.
Where did it take place?
Right.
Where did it take place?
Right.
The 2 countries mentioned more in the Bible are what?
Israel and Ethiopia.
No.
Which one?
Egypt.
Oh, Egypt and Ethiopia.
And you got to realize that Ethiopia, Israel, is not a country.
Yeah, it's not a country.
Did you get that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Israel is not a country in the Bible. The people of Israel are who? People.
Right.
There is nothing in the Bible that delineates a country of Israel. And by the way, those people who are claiming to be Jews,
hey, Tiffany, how you doing,
the Jews in the Bible are black.
Right.
Yep, they sure are. The Jews in the Bible. Yes, they are.
Another book to throw at you, go out and read Dr. Rudolph Windsor, From Babylon to Timbuktu, and the second book he wrote, The Valley of the Dry Bones. where he actually shows.
That sounded like an ex-girlfriend from college.
You know what? I want you to stop. You've
So-
been cutting up for 2 days.
But I mean, again, if we truly want to be free, and you know, it's funny. I've talked to a lot of white brothers and sisters who are look. The Catholic Church has known this for decades, for centuries. The Catholic Church waged war on Ethiopia because Haile Selassie, King Haile Selassie, said that he was a direct descendant of Jesus Christ.
Yes, he did.
So the Catholic Church in Italy waged war on. The reason Ethiopia is in its condition today is because of the Catholic Church. Okay, because they didn't want a black guy saying he's a direct descendant of Jesus Christ, when in fact they were saying that Jesus Christ was a white boy.
The servitude.
But even as stop playing. But
Yeah.
even as a child, I've always wondered, like, how can Jesus be white and the people in Africa were black? So those were questions.
even if you go from his
But-
geography, he wouldn't have been white.
Right, but those
But
were
here's
the
the
questions
other point.
that
I don't mean to
used
cut
get
you
in
off,
trouble
but
for.
here's the point, though. You tell me to grow and be like Jesus. You show me an image of a white boy with blue eyes. Subconsciously and psychologically, I
Beating us
look at that
down.
person. I can never be like Jesus,
Right.
because he doesn't look like
Like
me.
me, right.
Even though the Bible clearly tells you
What he looks like.
that he had
Hair of wool.
Head of wool.
hair of
And
lamb's
feet of
wool
bronze. Oh, yeah.
and feet of burnt bronze. But again, because of our ignorance as black people, as a matter of fact, remember 1968, y'all may not be old enough, but Ebony Magazine posted a picture of a black Jesus.
No,
Did they let that go on the shelf?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In
The
fact,
black evangelicals
yeah,
lost
you
their
can,
mind.
you
didn't
can, you can Google it.
They lost their mind.
Ebony, and in fact, I'll pull it
Don't
up in a
Google.
moment. Ebony Magazine posted a picture in 1968 of a black Jesus, and it was black people
That were mad.
That-
who were
lost their-
upset
Yeah.
with Ebony Magazine.
I'm
Yeah.
not shocked or surprised.
Because they
I
always
mean,
grew up with that G. Oh, we got a phone call? Uh-oh, that's probably one of them raccoons. Hold on
Stop
one second.
playing.
We're going to find
Be
out in a minute.
nice.
They mad? What you want to get mad? Okay,
Be
well, that's fine.
See,
We're
I
gonna
can't
do-
see the-
Hello, Devil's Advocate Radio. We are in partnership with the law firm of Rob Steele and Cheatham.
Did
Hello?
you just call me a raccoon, Negro?
What's going on? What's going on, boy? Everybody, this is Stanley. He calling us. Finally, he's out of hiatus. How you doing,
Yeah,
Stanley?
man. I'm on this space app with my baby mama trying to see these kids really mine.
What did they
We
find
working
out?
some stuff out.
How much passport you got to pay?
Did he say
I think I'm about
a face?
$1,800. I'm trying to see if I can at least talk her down and give me 2 of them and let her keep one for me. I don't know. It's a process.
So talk to me, Stanley. I got a question for you, bro. Answer this for me. Riddle me this. What's going on with black people? And I agree with Dave. I think overall black people tend to be traditionally conservative about a lot of things. Unfortunately, black people are we're on the pecking order when it comes to progressivism. But why are black people now
Scared.
rejecting progressivism? Isn't it progressivism that kind of moved us away from slavery? Isn't progressivism that started the civil rights era? Now black people talking about they conservative and they're against abortion and they're for rigid immigration. So let's just talk to me. Why are black people doing that now?
We on Christian radio, so I need to be very
Yeah.
diplomatic in my response. But I do speak Pig Latin, so I will allow those who speak Pig Latin to kind of adjust in my translation.
Right. Go ahead.
A lot of these Ignays got a little money,
Right.
and now they escape of your Ede Way Oaks space.
Thank you. And lost their
Thinking they're
mindset.
gonna get their money to. Yeah, I mean, it's you so comfortable in your golden nest
Right.
that you forget that these folks will come crack your eggs whenever they feel like it.
And the funny thing about it is, here's the thing. We talk about it, and it's this new movement, Blexit, walk away, all this old movement that black people are doing. It's funny to me. When Obama was president, people were like, well, we can't use no black man. We don't need no black savior. Black people got to do this. And Obama, love him or hate him, told us that black people got to self-empower themselves and get their neighborhoods together. He told us that. So my thing about it is now Trump come in, and people that became raccoons now. It's like, oh, Master Trump, he good. Look what he doing for black folks. So wait a minute. So the black men,
they're scared. I think that black people are
white
afraid.
supremacist
They're
mindset.
afraid to buck the system.
But why are they afraid?
Because they feel like they can't win. And
But-
I think that they have that some black people just have a ignorant mindset, and then they realize, you guys, in all actuality, to get to where we need to be, a lot of us would have to die to get to where we need to be, because it would be a fight. It would be a real fight. And in order for that fight to take place, some people are going to have to die for what they believe in. And everybody is not willing to die for the things that they believe. You know, a lot of people talk the talk, but they're not willing to walk the walk. So
Good point.
when you have these situations going on, that's
Stanley was trying to say something.
things are recorded, so I can't say
Yeah,
what I really
we
think
can't
or
say
what
it.
I really
Dave
feel.
did last week. He unleashed the F-bomb. But hold on.
But a lot of things, like I said, some black people aren't willing to fight.
Okay.
And in order to get to what you need, you would have to fight.
Hold on. Let me ask Stanley. So black people not willing to fight no more, bro?
I don't know if it's a willing to fight. I don't think that. I think the generation is kind of in the middle of a shift to where we have no one to show us the way. Like, there's no modern day MLK, Martin Luther. I mean, there's no MLK, no.
Everybody kind of like substitute teachers.
Like we get all of our blackness. I think the blackest we get is blackish. And so, like, you know, we don't have the even to a certain extent, we don't have the Bill Cosby anymore. So,
right.
So being black right now is not really a definition. It's just kind of like just everyday life. Like, it's
People are just
But
beating.
to your point about buying up the community, I mean, if you want to be honest, that's what the Asians and the Jews do,
Right.
and the
Right.
Turkish folks as well.
Right. Black people, the only people will go out here and don't get it twisted. I understand. They go out here and buy Nikes. They shop on Amazon. Don't shop in their own community. Don't build up their own community. White man come in. Oh, Master Trump, and he good. Look at Mr. Charlie. He's so good to us. And I'm like, wait a minute. So when Obama was sitting around here cutting the unemployment rate in half and trying to get you Negroes work and trying to do this and doing, he was being maligned for it. Now you hate him. Now when Trump come in and he sits around here and basically does everything but call you the N-word on national TV, now you love him. See, I don't get that slave mentality.
But that's white supremacy.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Let me read something to you that I posted this morning. The early white Christians didn't convert Africans into Christians to save their souls. This is an irrefutable fact because they believed that Africans had no souls and that heaven was for whites only. The true self-serving reason was to ingrain the myth of a white god into their minds. This made the Africans more subservient towards whites, therefore into better slaves. What we're seeing today is that very thing. No offense to people who are Christian. I'm just being real with you. It goes back to that analogy of I got an army of 1,000 people, and you have 10,000. How do I beat you with your 10,000 armies, with 10,000 men? I have to do something to your mind, okay?
Right.
And that's why I made the point about talking about this stupid argument about who can play Harriet Tubman and who can't, because every black person on this planet has been affected by white supremacy.
Right.
And until we understand that, we're going to continue to go down this path. One other quick point. We don't have to fire one shot. No one has to die. All we need is to tell our black boys that coming up this football season, you won't be playing for the University of Arkansas until they get the voting rights laws affected in this state or any state in this union. See, white people understand one thing, and that's money.
Get in their
okay?
pockets.
Go back to the 60s. What was the most effective weapon during the 60s? It wasn't the preaching. It wasn't the marching. It wasn't the praying. It was the economic boycott.
Right.
Nothing got
Right.
done. You have to realize
started getting in their
Martin
pockets.
Luther King started preaching and marching in 1959. Okay? It wasn't until the economic boycott that white folks said, hey,
This is affecting us.
this is hurting us.
This is
Right.
hurting
We
our
got to
pockets.
do
We
something.
gotta do
Right.
something.
Right.
We have the power. The problem is that we're not teaching black nationalism and black history
Uh-oh.
to understand
that's a bad
that
word
we
in this
do
country.
have the power.
Right.
Because you just said we don't have any Martin Luther Kings today.
Right.
Well, Martin Luther King was a young brother. You forget he was killed at 39.
Right.
He was a young brother.
Right.
You go back and look at some of those pictures. You go look at some of those videos. Those were children who was marching on those bridges. Those were children who had dogs sixed on them. Those were children who integrated Little Rock Central. You understand what I'm saying? Our children are our wealth and our power, and we openly give them over to white universities and schools and say, hey, take them, educate my children, when we should be educating them ourselves.
There he go. He preached it again. Do I need to go and get the Mac out again there, Dave? Stanley,
I'm
you
done.
still there, bro? Stanley?
I agree with you, but
Oh, there you go.
I think that until we have a designated spokesperson, I don't think anybody will listen. That's the sad part.
So who you think is possible? Look at what we got coming up in the next election. Who do you think is possible?
Oh,
Anybody?
None of them.
It don't
None of
exist.
them?
It don't exist. I think, honestly, and sadly, I think that if you really want to change the way these young folks think, it's got to be like a musician. It's got to be somebody who
Gets
Who
their
can outreach
attention.
they
the
play
people.
all their music. They
Meet the
listen
people
to
where
them.
they are.
Like, I just know it won't be
Yeah.
Lil Nas X or Gucci, man. I don't know what the answer is. It's got to be like these kids are so tapped into these headphones, man, that's
Yeah.
like a secret, you know.
It has to be something that can reach the masses where they at. That's what it is.
But see, I guess I disagree with you, Stanley. Here's why. Because I talk to young brothers and sisters all the time. They are plugged in. The problem is our generation.
Yeah.
That's the problem, is that, boy, you don't need to go and do that. Leave that stuff alone. That stuff too black. It's us. It's our generation who have decided we are the ones who really benefited from the civil rights struggle.
Right.
Yep.
Okay? So once we started being able to get them government jobs and all that other stuff, we don't need to do that anymore. But if you go and talk to some of these young brothers and sisters out here,
The
who are
millennials. Yeah,
these
they're
millennials,
hot. They
these
hot.
young brothers and sisters
They
are
hot.
out there. They are doing their thing. It's us
It's us.
who are not
It's
doing
us.
that.
And I have to
Yes,
agree
it's
with
us.
you, Dave, because my son, he's 23, and he's very woke and knowledgeable. And I don't mean woke like the hotel woke. I mean woke like he come here and have a very educated conversation with you and be able to spar back and forth with you. But my son also has that activism in him, and it was to the point where it would scare me, you know, like, you can't say that. Don't say that, you know. That's going to affect you in the end, you know. So I have to dial back from saying that because I have to realize I have a young man.
What's up,
Right.
And I have
What's up,
a
OG?
young man that's going to grow up to be an older man, and
Right.
he's going to have to be willing
Right.
to fight for what he believes in and things like that. And he was the president of the NAACP, UALR. He did have,
Right.
you know, things that he believed in and he wanted to fight for. So you are right. Our generation
Right. Well, what does the
does
Bible
help
always
people.
tell you? And a kid shall lead them.
Exactly.
It does
And
say that.
and that you're right, and that's our fault. You know, it's just like that movie. I'm gonna get you, Stanley. I'm not trying to cut you off, bro. I know this is your time, but it's like the movie. I'm gonna get you, sucker. What happened to all this black power? I went down to the office and they were hiring that day. That's how
Right.
our people are. You know, so
Not understanding that if we spent money in our own communities,
Right.
see, that's how they have us, is that we're the only people that boycott our own businesses.
yep.
We get that. We are the only people that boycott our own businesses. Okay, they know that, but an Arab, an Hispanic,
Nope.
a Jewish person
They-
can come in our
they
community
support their-
and they can take all the money of our community. But you go to look. I know a friend who's Indian. They just bought this place over here off of Rodney Parham. This Indian store over there. Where'd they get the money from? Well, many of them come in here
And pool it
and they
together.
pool their money together.
And put their money
Okay,
together and
I tell people all the time about the Gardenia, California, the mall in Gardenia, California, which was white owned at one point. You go into that area now, you can't even read the signs because the majority of people living in that area now are Indian.
Right.
Okay, and they decided that they wanted to sell the mall, so the Indians got together and they said, "Hey, look, we're going to buy this mall." They said, "Oh, great, we're going to finance it." They said, "No, we're going to pay for it cash."
Yep. So Stanley,
That's
what
powerful.
we gonna
You see
do,
what I'm
bro?
saying?
Yeah.
We
What
got the
gonna do?
money, $1.3 trillion
But
annually.
they going on J's. But anyway, Stanley, talk to us. I know you're getting ready to go. I know you're a busy man. So, you know, upcoming, now that we've had this Mueller report come out, has that changed anything in your opinion before you go?
Well, I think today's point is show you that white folks stick together no matter what.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And most other people do too, except us.
Yeah, I
Except
think
us,
that,
as he said. Us.
He was very put. I'm gonna tell you what bothered me the most. Is we're gonna just be transparent.
Go ahead, talk to me.
So I work for a Western organization, and do you know that the job completely shut down? Like there were TVs on all over the office the whole entire day, and all the black folks were just still working. Like they completely shut down. Ordered food, had food delivered, everything. Black folks went on business as usual.
Right.
And so that's what bothers me with this whole woke movement.
Right.
Hell, you got to be awake to be woke.
Right.
What's up, Super?
Half these cats still asleep. I don't know, man.
Stanley, you
really
just said a
gotta
word.
Right,
dude.
that's what I'm saying. These hotels, they messing it up too for us.
You just said a word because, look, I tell people I carry a Constitution around in my bag everywhere I go. One of the first items on my book list is the Constitution of the United States. And black people will ask me, and by the way, I'm going to post that whole book list today on Facebook. But black people will ask me, well, why do you have that white document on your book list when all the books and authors are by black people?
Right.
And I said, first of all, you live in America, the United States of America.
Did you forget that?
You have to understand the laws by which you are governed. You know, I was shocked that so many people didn't know about the 13th Amendment until 13 came out.
Right.
I didn't know this. Well, why didn't you know that? You should have. It freed your people. Have you not ever went back and read it?
Right.
They know what Juneteenth is because of the free drink special.
Well, that's well.
They have free drink specials
Okay,
on
well, look, I like a
Juneteenth.
free drink like
Stop
everybody else.
playing. See, you
I'm
play
just
too
saying.
much. Who has some free
Go
drinks
beat up
on
me, fine, and
Juneteenth?
I just be beat up for you.
See how he just makes stuff up?
You Stanley, and Dave to take the show.
I'm just saying, but
now.
The key now is to educate our people.
Right.
The key now is to educate our children. We have the wherewithal now where we don't really need school to educate our children. We can educate our children at home.
Right.
But why aren't we doing that? Because as you said, Stanley, we're not concerned about what goes on in our regular lives that affect our lives.
Right.
That's when you just said that. That's just now. Had it been the OJ trial, black folks was all around
Right,
it.
black folks was rallying. Right.
Y'all, I have to go back to
Bill
it. I
Cosby.
think that
Yeah,
black
Bill
people
Cosby
just
too.
a lot of black people just feel, whether they want to admit it or not, they feel defeated, and it's like they can't do anything to change things. So that's why they don't care. They're like,
So go blow your brains out.
Thank you. That's your option
Because you're mentally dead anyway.
Right.
So, but that's
If you
seriously
feel defeated, they did their job.
That's how they feel. They don't feel that. I talk to people every day. There's this guy in my apartment, in my old apartment complex. I used to talk to him, and I'm like, "So you don't vote? Are you a witness? Why are you not
Not them.
exercising your?" What difference do it make? They're still gonna do what they want to do. I ain't got
Don't
nothing
you
to
get
do
tired
with
of
it.
hearing that?
And I'm like, okay. So
If-
you
if-
complain.
if
Man,
voting
you
doesn't
see the
matter,
street
why
out
did
here.
they try to
Why they
invest and
not
support
fixing this
our vote?
pothole? Because you didn't vote for the right people to get
Bingo.
the money in the right place.
All they do is they
You know,
don't
I
do
come
nothing
back
to be
with
lazy
some
and
logic
complain
like
about
that.
the results.
So I don't understand that logic or why people don't think that things that are going on affects them, because it really does. And I don't know if it comes back from parents not teaching their children or they've just so
Apathy.
oppressed.
There's a word. It's called apathy. Cynicism and apathy. And then let me just tell them next time somebody says that they don't vote, and I'm gonna let Stanley finish up because I know he got to go back to work. You work, boy? I don't know. Do you work? Okay.
No,
But
I ain't
anyway.
working today, man.
You don't work. Okay.
Actually,
If you
at the
think-
strip club in the bathroom talking.
See what I'm saying, man? See,
You
that's what
at
I'm
the
saying.
strip
We are-
club in the
Oh,
bathroom,
thank you. That's what I'm
Stanley?
saying.
Hey, take a
Christian
shot
radio.
of Cuervo for me, bro.
Well, Stanley,
I
I
got you,
drink
but we don't
Crown
make
or I
Kobe.
take a
I got you.
whiskey sour.
I
Can
can
you
do
bring
that
that
with a
to
goat
me?
in the back.
You know what?
And what?
What I tell you, see, 2 days in a row. It's been 48 hours. By
Okay,
48 hours,
So
it
I
should
can't
have
express
worn
my
off.
vices on radio. What you saying?
I mean,
okay.
but the Sanjay,
think
you've
how
been
the
coming up for
government
2
feel.
days.
Okay, well, fine. Then I'll just be quiet. And y'all won't let me say nothing. Okay. if next time a person tells you the vote don't matter, mention this to them: United States Supreme Court. Because everything that's getting ready to affect your life, like I said, when we blew 2016, everything that they're getting ready to decide as far as social justice and everything else is going to be decided by a majority of 6 grumpy white men
Yes.
who are going to make this and changes in your life because Trump is in there, and now he's going to nominate every idiot ideologue that he can find and put in there until he gets out. And even when he's out of office,
They're
they got
still
those
in
jobs
there.
for life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. People don't
Understand
understand
it for
that.
life. That means you're going to die up in here.
But that's what the thing is. People aren't educated on the judicial system. They're not educated on, the 3 branches of government. I mean, basic stuff people just don't understand. And I don't know if it's because they didn't care or, they're just not interested in it or they just have that small
because they think voting is going
mindset
to solve the problem. There's more than what you got to do than vote. But Stanley, you're going to get the last word because we only got a few minutes left. Talk to us. Tell us some stuff going out.
Man, I just want to send a shout out to all these strippers in church who get to cut their ringtone on silent, and they got Uncle Luke playing during the benediction.
Uncle Luke. Don't nobody even listen to Uncle Luke no
You
more.
want that stuff this morning?
I like old strippers. Y'all be at them new strip clubs. I go to old spots where they got stab marks and bullet wounds.
You know what, Stanley?
I'm
I need you to get your life together
thank
at
you.
this very moment. You worse than Django.
Muhammad, Buddha. But you know what? I'm gonna send you your very own. Thanks for calling because we ain't heard from you a couple. I'm gonna send you your very own inflatable Nicole Murphy doll.
What? See, so we back on Nicole Murphy.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, please do.
So we back on Nicole
Give me the
Murphy.
one before she had the 17 kids.
You want the one before she? Okay, I'll give you the untapped version of her before the 5.
I do want to do one last little shout out before we go.
Okay.
I want to send a shout out to all the young folks that's sad after seeing the new Lion King because they didn't know what was supposed to happen.
Get off my radio show.
So they didn't know Mufasa was going to die?
Mufasa.
They didn't know. They
You can't say that on the air.
You just went
Look what you done.
What? I mean,
Catboy ain't
I'm
gonna never be the same.
sorry. They knew Mufasa was going to die. They should have watched the
See
cartoon.
what I'm saying? She just went and spoiled it, Stanley.
But I'm sorry.
And they finna have a Lion King 2 with Kevin Hart. It's gonna be pretty funny. Y'all gotta check it out.
Oh
Lord,
my
hell,
God!
I'm
No,
not gonna
Stanley,
see
you
that.
spoiled
Nope,
it.
gonna
We're
see
not
that.
watching it.
About
no.
to ruin a classic.
No, don't put him in it. No, or
Yeah.
Tiffany had
But
it.
for real though, for everybody who wondering who their
Hey.
kid's dad is, take your
Stanley.
baby's baby picture and put it on the Face app, and you can figure out who their daddy is. Y'all ever
Stanley.
say something, I'll holler at y'all next week.
But boy, get off. Bye. You let him on, Dave. Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
By the way, that face app was made by Russians.
Russians. Now everybody know you all.
And they got all your data.
Yep, that's for Danya. Comrade. Okay, you know what? We getting out of here. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you, Black Beauty, for coming in,
You
taking time
are
off your
welcome.
illustrious schedule. What the hell? Okay. That better not be Mike, because I'm going to cuss him out. And it could be Super Dave's going to get the door. I want to thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you guys again
Thank
here.
you for having me.
Well, hopefully you can get back next Friday. I take you to lunch. I buy you a fish sandwich if you can get back here next week. And thank you guys for joining us. See you next Friday. Same back time, same back channel. And don't forget, if you can't stand the heat, stay out of Hell's Kitchen, folks. Bye.
Business owner, can I talk to you for a moment? How many people have come up to you and said, hey, I didn't know you had a business? Yeah, that can happen.